Well, there are different cycles like in the stock market. So what we do is we have longer-term cycles and short-term cycles. We do it on crude oil, natural gas, the currencies, everything. So one important one is the 100-year cycle.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. This is Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz, and with us is the esteemed forecaster, Charles Nenner. And Charles, it's always great to have you back on the show to talk about things that have happened and then things that may happen, the impact of cycles on markets and on economies and the world, often underlooked by many of your colleagues out there. And yet the cycles continue. We got this 100-year cycle of, war. We got a 60-year cycle of election chicanery, 1960, 2020. And if anyone doesn't believe the cycles are there, just go look up at the sun. Look at the just a monthly cycle. When do the tides rise? When we have a full moon like last night. So with intros out of the way, just tell us, stock market record highs, does it continue? If so, for how long? And then what?
Well, we're still long in the stock market and we have a little bit more, but we're making a longer term top. We're going to publish it on the website, on the weekly cycles, on the weekly cycles top. So just to go about cycles for people who don't know much about what we're doing. So cycles actually is an interpretation of the facts. So the facts are not important, but the interpretation. And what you see right now, I don't want to scare anybody, but I've been saying that for the last 10 years, you're going to have a combination of Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea against the West. The West, who's busy with, we're going to name you sir, or you're going to your missus or whatever, that's what we're busy with. I saw that over last year, they picked up more than 800 people on the southern border that were on a terrorist list. So I talked to people that says you can assume that 10 times as many went through. Americans are not used to that because they were an island, but they're not used to being attacked from inside and being blown up on the left or the right. So the interesting thing is, as long as the cycle doesn't turn down, nobody seems to care. And you'll see when later this month the cycles are turning down, or next month are turning down, that everybody suddenly realizes how bad the situation is. I, as a European, I am really shocked that nobody sees how bad the situation is. So again, the facts we already know. It just seems the facts don't care. But as soon as the cycle stops, then everybody starts worrying about what's going on, and then the market goes down.
Isn't it funny how that works? That nothing is important until it finds its way to your attention, and then it becomes the most important thing in the world until the next thing comes, right?
Right.
All right. So markets, and we're talking here, all of the indices, they got a few more weeks to go, and then they turn down in February.
Yeah, because they're getting close to a recession in a couple of months, and then the corporate profits will go down, and the markets are going to anticipate it.
Now, what about our soft landing here that's coming?
I don't believe in any soft landing. I don't know where they get that. It's public relations. It's politics. I mean, with the indicators and the budget deficit and whatever's going on and the war cycle, how can you have a soft landing? It's going to be very, very bad.
The war cycle. So let's talk about this war cycle. Last great World War was ended in 1945, started in the late to mid to late 30s. How often do we have wars according to the cycles?
Well, there are different cycles like in the stock market. So what we do is we have longer-term cycles and short-term cycles. We do it on crude oil, natural gas, the currencies, everything. So one important one is the 100-year cycle. And I've been saying that on different television stations. It started 10, 15 years ago. I said, the Second World War was actually a continuation of the First World War. And that was 1940, 1918. And if you go back 100 years, you got Napoleon in the time frame. And if you go back 100 years, it's called the Habsburg war. And if you would Google, just see the 100-year cycle, you look at the second decade of a new century, and you see that, in 1100, 1200, 1300, 1400, 1500, back to the birth of Jesus, always there was in the second decade of the cycle of the century. Now, as I've been mentioning, there were more, the smaller cycle turned up the middle of last year, and that's why we're in trouble. And the more cycles are going to turn up, so we're going to have more trouble. And it has to do with the fact is if you can accept that there's no free choice. If you think anything can happen, then you cannot work with cycles. But if you think things don't move at random, then you should try the cycles. If you go to my website, you can go 30 days for free. You don't even have the credit card. You see all the cycles, how they work. And then if you compare it to the news, you'll find it very interesting that the news always comes afterwards, and something is going to trigger a market coming down or bonds going up or whatever happens.
Right. And I'm reviewing this. If you've been watching this show for any amount of time, we've talked about this before. But for those of you who are just coming on board, not familiar with Charles's body of work, I highly suggest that you go over to his site. There's nothing in it for us. It's Charles Nenner, NENNER.com. A link will be in the show notes to this interview. If you got a question for Charles or myself, shoot me an email to kl@kerrylutz.com. So moving along here, gold. So gold's been trading consistently over $2,000 the ounce, really ended the year over 2,000, has stayed above it. Do you think we have one more plunge left before it really takes off? What do you see gold doing in the next year?
Well, cycles work very well on the metals. I think last year we have the track record on our website. I think we made 60% in gold just trading the trading range. It's not ready yet. Everybody's losing money on the gold because every time it goes at 2100, it fails. It's not so complicated. Even if you don't look at cycles, you look at a chart, a monthly chart, you see 4, 5, or 6 times 2100, it's over. They sell it again. And here's another interesting thing. You would say gold would do something because of the threat of war, not as long as the cycles don't bottom. So it still takes a couple of weeks for the cycle to bottom, but we definitely want to see a nice bull market in gold and silver.
Okay. And any idea how high it can go? Or so we got to see 2100 though before anything is going to happen in gold.
No. When the cycles bottom, then we start buying.
Mm-hmm.
And if for people who don't watch cycles, I just say once it closes above 2100, then it's okay. But it goes a lot of points before it gets to 2100.
Yeah, understood. So yes, obviously that is the case, and yeah, it's going to bottom. Where do you think the bottom is in gold? Is it in the 1900s, 1800s?
Well, the two possibilities, but again, it doesn't cost anybody to go to the website. It's all there. I don't know about every asset that we follow exactly what the levels are. We do all the currencies. We do the gold and silver, the crude oil, natural gas, European markets. So I don't want to make a mistake. So the best thing is to log in for free and look up what the levels are.
Yeah, and I get a report every day and I read it. First thing I do, I go through my email, I read your report, and when you get sent an update during the day, I kind of drop everything and read it. So hey, when we're looking at, let's look at oil. Oil's been kind of bouncing around here, kind of trendless, but trendless to lower. Is it going to move with gold here? Is it cycle aligned or is separate cycle?
Well, the different cycles. So the short-term cycle bottoms next week, but the weekly cycle is still down into late March. So what you see then is you can have a bounce on the upside, but the tradable low has to wait until the weekly cycles bottom.
And one thing I've got a lot of questions about, especially since our last interview, is copper, as it's called, Dr. Copper. Dr. Copper has been showing a little bit more strength lately, still not making any moves, but it's been stronger of recent.
I tell you honestly, I have somebody does copper in my team, and I personally don't look at copper because it's not something we really invest in. that's a person who takes more care of the economic indicators. So I can help you with this one.
All right. So we'll look to your team for that one.
I can ask them to publish the copper again. So maybe next Sunday I ask them to publish. So whoever wants to know it, take a look at the cycles we publish on Sunday.
Oh, excellent. All right. So look at Charles' site on Sunday, and you'll get his team's take on copper. So nat gas has been like awful.
It has been wonderful for us, because if you look at the track record last year, we were up more than 200%. It's the easiest one to trade. Up, down, the cycles are perfect. So now we short from 2.70 on the May contract, and we're close to covering because the daily cycle bottoms in a few days.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah, it's good if you're a speculator and you called it right. But like you say, they call it the widowmaker, right?
Well, the widowmaker is something else, which, personally, the widowmaker is a certain place in the heart. And I personally have the problem that it's very hard to operate. And actually, for many years, have to be operated. Thank God they have no any problems, but they cannot operate at that spot. So that's why it's called the widowmaker, because, a lot of husbands die early because of that problem.
Sure. All right. So hey, when we're looking at the energy markets, you say the natural gas trades almost perfectly according to its cycles. Yeah. So when do we see its low come in?
The short-term low we see in a few days.
Few days, and going to be a tradable low, or
going to be a tradable low.
How low can it go?
Well, the maximum is 2.09. I think we saw 2.30. I don't know what happened today. So we're not waiting for the last week. We're short for 2.70, and we're close to a reversal.
All right. And so it's just, there's so much natural gas in the world, and yet with the Ukraine-Russia war that threw the entire Asian and European market into turmoil the year before last, now it looks like it's settled down and the prices have probably bottomed out.
Well, as you know, I don't deal with the news because I don't think it's relevant. You understand? So I listen to you. You know more about it than I. I only know when asset goes up, down, how high it goes, and how low it goes. And I did this for Goldman Sachs. We might say, with a lot of billions and a lot of success. And even over there, they sometimes are waiting for the news. It says you don't have to wait for the news to come out because the cycle will make the interpretation. To give you one example, I don't know, maybe we did it once on the show to explain it for newcomers. Let's say you buy IBM at 150 and it goes to 200. And now IBM comes out with a very good record. The quarterly results are excellent. Now the question is IBM going up and down? Now IBM, you would say, goes up because the results were excellent. And then the Wall Street Journal will write, people poured into IBM because it's doing great. But if the cycles are down, it goes down. And then the Wall Street Journal writes, they don't think they do better next year, so it took profit. Which means is even if you know the news, if you don't know how people look at the news, it's not going to help.
Right. Gotcha. So hey, looking at the dollar coming up, you're seeing more weakness?
Here we go again, because the questions always get is in what time period. It happened to be that in 1 or 2 days, we'll see some weakness short term on the dollar again.
Okay. Longer term, last time we spoke, you said the BRICS really are going to start presenting a kind of alternative to the dollar.
It's that, and it's not against, I'm not into politics, but the way that the United States asserts itself, people are losing all faith in the United States. So that is longer term not good for the dollar.
So loss of confidence in the U.S. And that, of course, ties in with interest rates. So again, the news, if we were to listen to the news, we would think that Powell already started cutting rates, and it was probably, he cut 200 basis points. But the reality is he hasn't cut anything yet. And the news says he's going to cut. But what do the cycles say?
The cycles say that the Fed funds continue to be high until late this year.
Right. So he was jawboning, and it had the desired effect. It drove rates down without the Fed having to do anything, right?
Right. So now we expect that we will short the bonds, and now we're covering the shorts. because we're expecting a bounce coming soon. The long ones. But that doesn't always influence the Fed funds. So that's a bit separate.
Right. Okay. And what other markets should we be paying attention to now, Charles? I mean, you cover same.
No, we do soybeans, we do live cattle, there's no end to it. We do corn, lumber, whatever people are interested in. People who are in real estate should look at the interest rates forecast and the lumber forecast, because that's very important. For the rest, the currencies will stay in a trading range still for a while. Oh, maybe important, Bitcoin. We went short at 47,000. We could see a bounce, but there's no tradable low until the end of the first quarter of this year.
Interesting. I was going to ask you about Bitcoin, but let's go back to lumber for a minute. Now, during the pandemic, lumber skyrocketed, and now it's been weak pretty much. It's come down, not quite to pre-pandemic lows, but getting close to it. What are you seeing there?
I don't see much going on, and especially because I think in a couple of months, we're going to recession. I think these things are going to be on the weak side. But again, I don't really funny, but look at the website, and the charts are there, because I don't remember everything. Because we don't discuss before what we're going to talk about, so I'm not prepared on everything.
That's okay. I like you fresh and speaking like spontaneously. So many scripted interviews out there, we don't do them. So food prices, inflation. So let's talk about inflation. We talked about a year ago, you said inflation's coming down, which you were spot on about, and that, they hadn't defeated the inflationary cycle, that later on inflation would be picking up. What are you seeing there?
Now, out of my brain, because I don't remember that also, I think we have 1 or 2 months of low inflation, and then it should pick up again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, nothing has changed, but inflationary expectations, all of a sudden the numbers start going up and people builds it in.
Well,
how long does, yeah.
What people don't understand is that 2 or 3% inflation, it's on top of the inflation that we had before. It's not that we have now the inflation of 3-4%. It continues to build on the inflation we had before, so people are still feeling it in their pocketbooks.
Exactly. Even though the price of a Thanksgiving Day dinner went down about 25 cents this year, it's like not a meaningful number at all. But one thing I find interesting is there's totally ignoring the fact that inflation runs in cycles. Last cycle we had lasted 20 plus years. So to think that it's going to be gone in just a year, that doesn't work, does it?
Well, what scares me, because I guess the Fed knows my work from Goldman, because the funny thing is, it's a funny story. Once I was called by the White House, and I hang up. I says, guys, stop fooling around. 5 times I hang up. And then Abby Cohen, maybe you remember her, said, no, they called me because she was the face of Goldman Sachs. And I told, go to Charles Nenner. So I called them back. I'm sorry, etc., etc. And the idea over there is that nobody does any work. Nobody has any clue. I don't think that. Then I started working for the Bush administration. I had nobody to talk to. They didn't know what I was talking about. And I think this administration is even worse than that. So don't expect anybody to know anything. What frightens me is that the chairman of the Fed says, we'll look for months to months. You don't have any cycles? Obviously, they know my work, but they don't look at cycles, because otherwise you cannot look for months to months what you're going to decide. So I think it's a mess, and most people have no clue what's going on.
Yeah. So this is going to go on for years then, right?
We expect that this is a new cycle up for 30 years, inflation and higher interest rates. Like now, short-term, the long-term rates should come down, but longer term, they go much higher.
Right. So, Will Rogers, famous comedian, once said, invest in inflation. It's the only thing going up. How do we do that here using your system?
Well, there are ETFs. First of all, it gives some ideas. There are ETFs that you can play, and they go up if inflation goes up. You don't have to work with the bonds that are against inflation. That's complicated. The other thing I just want to mention to people is that soon we're going to have a crash in the housing market. A lot of people, for emotional reasons, don't want to sell the house. Do the same thing as we did in 2006, 2007. You just buy a lot of puts on Toll Brothers, Lennar. We all have it on in our work. Or you go short. You calculate how much the value of your house is. You calculate then how much we say that a stock like Lennar will go down. And then you can hedge yourself. It's not going to cost you so much money. And you just don't sit like a sitting duck. Oh, my real estate goes down again. There are a lot of things you can do to protect yourself. So they asked me in another television station, how do we make money? And I said, listen, I'm Dutch. We don't like to lose money. You know, your son is in Holland, so you should get updates. So in the United States, there's no such thing as we don't like to lose money. It's always how we make money, and that's how people suffer.
Right. Okay. So when do you think the housing crash is going to happen? Is it going to be in 2024?
Yes, later this year, because there's a cycle of 18.5 years, and it's about to top again. So most of the institutional people that I work with, I don't know how long we know each other, but 10, 15 years ago, I said, buy small apartments and rent them out. But now you remember that? And now now you start selling them. So now they're selling them.
So it's not going to be a good time to own an Airbnb, is it?
Well, that's a different business. Maybe it still is. I mean, and when we had to COVID, people were still traveling. I mean, I travel a lot. The ticket prices, the airlines are going through the roof, but nobody seems to care. So in that perspective, people still want to travel. So maybe that's still good. But, you know, there are ways to hedge yourself with the real estate market coming down.
Yeah, just a little anecdote for you, indicating what you're saying. Definitely some validity to it. A friend of mine, former airline pilot, he flies private charters now. And in his company, they just laid off 4 or 5 pilots because just not enough business. And if it's weak in the upside of the market there in airplane charters, then you got to wonder what's really happening in the rest of the economy, regardless of what the numbers are.
But the problem is that, you know, you have that on CNBC a lot. I used to be a lot on CNBC. They pick up when an asset goes up, and once they pick it up, it has been up for a couple of months, and then it's usually close to the top. So most people don't see those facts. So the media don't pick it up, and once the media pick it up, it's too late to get out.
Yeah. Well, that's always the case, right? They find out about the trend, and then the smart money is selling into the dumb money as they go into something else. All right. So anything else we should, any other markets you find interesting at this particular moment in time?
No, we did the dollar. I talked about the bond markets, the stock markets, the recession coming, the gold and silver. I think we covered, except if you're in the meat business, you know, I can tell you feed the cattle, but most people are not doing that. They're just a big company. No, you know, I have no idea how important it is, because if you're a big company and you sell hamburgers and you have to buy meat, you have to know when to sign a contract. I got a guy here in Miami who sells oranges, and it's a big difference if he knows when the cycle is up, when to close a contract for the next couple of years. So it's a lot of business we have to do for that. But most people don't watch that. So I think we covered most of it, and maybe in a couple of weeks when we get closer to a top, we'll do it again.
All right. Well, let me know when I should fill up my freezer with steak. Okay. Because right now, like where I buy it, they don't know there's a recession coming. They're getting higher prices than ever, you know, $25, $30 an ounce for prime ribeye. Aged ribeye is even aged ribeye is even higher. And none of the steakhouses know that the price is coming down here. So we will see about that. Hey, make sure you go over to Charles's site, charlesnenner.com, and sign up for your free trial. Once you start, you will get hooked like I've been for years. And if you got a question for Charles or myself, kl@kerrylutz.com is the email address. And don't forget, you can find the link to Charles in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Sign up for your free newsletter. Charles, always a pleasure. Thanks for your sage guidance. We'll be talking to you again real soon.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.